Have you ever really thought about how a tradition gets started? I mean, it's not usually from some big, grand plan. Often, it's born from a single moment, a single feeling. And then somehow it grows and evolves to touch thousands of lives for decades, even centuries. Today, that's what we're looking at. The amazing story of a spiritual practice called the Mahapooja. It's a real journey of how a ritual is created, how it finds its champion, and how it continues to thrive.
So let's just start with the big question right up front. What gives any ritual its staying power, right? Is it just doing the same thing over and over again, or is there something, deeper going on? We're going to dig into that very question by exploring the incredible history and practice of the Mahapooja.
Okay, so our story actually begins thousands of years ago with this ancient Vedic tradition called a yagna. Think of these as huge community-wide sacrifices and offerings. It was a way for everyone to come together to say thanks and connect with the divine. This whole idea of a devotional offering, well, it's the rich soil where so many Hindu practices first took root.
But times change. Sages started to realize that these massive, really complex yagnas, they just weren't practical for everybody's daily life. So they brilliantly distilled the main ideas down into something much more personal, a daily ritual called puja. This basically became a framework that anyone could use for worship, like having your own personal yagna right in your home.
So that's puja in general. But how did we get to the Mahapooja we're talking about today? Well, its origin isn't in some ancient dusty scripture. Nope, it's actually found in a single powerful act of human compassion.
Let's travel back in time. The place is Gadada, India. The date is June 1st, 1830. A deeply revered spiritual leader, Sriji Maharaj, has just passed away. And one of his most dedicated followers, a man named Dada Kachar, is just completely shattered, absolutely grief-stricken, just lost. Seeing his friend in so much pain, another saint, Gunatitanand Swami, knew he had to do something. So he performed a special, really comprehensive puja with the specific intention of healing Dada Kachar's grief. And that right there, that single act of comfort, born out of pure empathy, that was the very first Mahapooja. It wasn't meant to be some big tradition. It was just a personal gesture to try and mend a broken heart. But of course, the story doesn't end there. For years, the Mahapooja was still a pretty unknown practice. It really took a passionate champion to take it from that one compassionate act and turn it into a cornerstone of faith for a whole community. And check out this 15-year gap on the timeline. It's pretty significant. The first one happened in 1830, right? But it wasn't until 1845 that it really started to take off. And that's because Gunatitanand Swami saw its incredible potential. He encouraged people to perform it, not just for emotional comfort, but to actively get rid of hardship and bring prosperity. Suddenly, the purpose of the ritual got a whole lot bigger. And as more people did it, they started experiencing what they felt were, divine miracles. Take the story of this guy, Vallabhai. He was caught up in a really serious legal battle. We're talking his life, his reputation, his money. Everything was on the line. He'd tried everything, and he just could not see a way out. So in total desperation, he goes to Gunatitanand Swami, who gives him this really specific advice. He says, accept Lord Swaminarayan as the supreme God and conduct Mahapoojas for 4 months. By the grace of Maharaj, all your miseries will be removed. It was a promise tied to this act of faith. And the result that was attributed to this? It was just wow. The story goes that on the very same night that Vallabhai committed to doing this, the king who was causing all his problems suddenly summoned him, wrote a letter granting him all his rights, and arranged for him to be welcomed back home with honor. I mean, talk about an immediate, seemingly miraculous turnaround.
It's stories like that one that really cemented the Mahapooja's place in people's hearts. But what does the ritual actually involve? What are the moving parts? Let's kind of deconstruct it and look at its core components.
The whole thing really rests on 3 pillars. First, you've got the mantra. That's the sacred chant, and in this case, it's the name Swaminarayan. Simple enough. Second is the tantra. Now that word can sound kind of mystical, but here it just means the process, the step-by-step procedure of the ritual. And finally, you have the yantra, which is the physical tool. It's a platform with images of God, saints, and devotees that acts as the focal point for all this devotion. So, that process, the tantra, it unfolds in 4 pretty clear phases. You start with purification of yourself, the space, the whole atmosphere. Then you move to invocation, where you bring a sense of sacredness to all the ritual items, the flame, the conch, the bell. The real heart of it all is phase 3, making 16 different symbolic offerings. And then it all wraps up with completion, prayers for forgiveness and a final prayer for peace for everyone.
But here's the thing, and this might be the most important part of this entire explainer. Understanding the steps is only half the battle. The sources are crystal clear that the real power of the Mahapooja isn't in the mechanics. It's all about the mindset you bring to it.
This quote from a teacher named Dinkar Uncle just nails it. He says, "The Mahapooja should not be mechanical. The key," he says, "is to do it with renewed faith and energy every single day, as if it's the very first time you are ever experiencing it."
So how on earth do you do that? Well, the source material gives some fantastic analogies. Think about it. We don't get bored of eating every day, right? We look forward to it. A great basketball player doesn't see shooting free throws as monotonous. They see it as a chance to get better every single day. And in that same way, the Mahapooja is meant to be a daily platform to renew and innovate your own sense of devotion.
This chart really captures that core teaching perfectly. You can approach this ritual in 2 totally different ways. There's the head trip, where you're using your logical mind, which can lead to doubt, confusion, and it becomes monotonous. Or you can take the heart trip, approaching it with pure faith. And that path, this sources say, transforms the ritual into a powerhouse that multiplies your energy and lets you actually experience divinity.
This sense of reverence, it extends to the physical items too. The teaching is that you should see those images and items in the yantra not as just symbols, but as the actual manifestations of the divine. You handle them with the exact same respect and care as if they were the real forms of God. Because in that moment, in that sacred space, they are.
And that brings us right back around to our big question from the start. The story of the Mahapooja really suggests that a ritual's lasting power, it doesn't just come from its history or its structure, it comes from the heartfelt intention and that renewed energy that we bring to it each and every day. Which kind of leaves us all with a final thought to chew on. What are the rituals in your own life, big or small, and how do they shape your connection to what you value most?